I walked past a drug addict the other day, and I didn't just feel pity when looking at him. This time, I felt something different, and I wondered whether other people feel the same way. So when I looked into his eyes, I somehow felt some sort of recognition. I know this sounds crazy comparing like myself to a drug addict or like the average person to a drug addict, but I think that we have something in common with these people, something that we are afraid to face. It's like a mirror that we avoid to look into. Of course, most of us don't end up on the street, luckily, but the underlying pattern, I think, is the same. I think what we have in common with this person that I saw on the street is that we are running from pain. We're running away from the pain that we feel. We sedate it, we twist it, we try to reinterpret it and bury it, but we don't face it. I think this is what our culture has conditioned us to do. So instead of becoming drug dependent, we reach for more acceptable numbing agents. So we drown ourselves in work, or we pursue meaningless relationships. We, even perfectionism disguised as discipline can be a way to not have to face the pain that you actually feel inside. And I think our problem is that we have made a categorical mistake when it comes to pain. We are confusing pain with pathology. But actually, what we're forgetting here is that pain is not a defect, okay? Pain is literally a system designed by your body in order to inform you when something is wrong. And this is true for physical pain and also true for emotional pain. And science supports this as well. So pain operates across 3 dimensions: sensory, affective, and cognitive. So we feel it physically, depending on the type of pain. We feel it emotionally, and we can also think about it. And basically our brain has 3 ways to deal with pain, okay? So essentially what your brain does every time that you're in a state of pain is it debates on what it's going to do. So it basically asks what's at stake, and then depending on that decides whether to suppress the pain, whether to go like all in and experience the pain, or whether to dissociate from it, whatever is necessary in that situation. So let's say you're a Neanderthal and you're being chased by a mammoth. Then your leg starts bleeding. Of course, you're not gonna like stand still and be like, oh no, my leg hurts so much. This is not adaptive. And all the adrenaline in your body, keeps you running and keeps you going. And your body's just like, okay, we're not gonna feel this pain right now. Same with emotional pain. Let's say you're in a job interview and you feel a wave of anxiety coming. You can still tell yourself to ignore this anxiety, to maybe have a sip of whatever alcohol before the job interview because you want to go in there and, secure that job. So this is essentially what we do. We don't just feel pain, we negotiate with ourselves whether to suppress it, whether to, amplify the pain. Depending on what seems most adaptive at the time, we do with the pain that we feel. And this, I think, has led us to the society that we live in right now, because in our world that we've created for ourselves, it has become incredibly easy to avoid our emotional pain and to distract ourselves from it. So we can easily just drown in distractions. We can mute it with dopamine. We can delay it by denying it completely. And what we don't realize is we're paying for that escape with our vitality, because what no one really tells you is pain is information. And by basically denying yourself to feel it, you are denying yourself important information. And you're not just numbing the negative emotions, you're numbing your emotional state altogether. So you're basically paying for it with your vitality. Pain is not optional. It shouldn't be optional. It's a homeostatic emotion, similar to thirst or hunger, for example. So what does it lead to if you go without water for too long? Dehydration, which is not good. You should not ignore when you're thirsty. And the same thing goes for pain, physical or emotional, again. I think that emotional pain that is not attended to leads to fragmentation over time. And that way, you start to develop addictions, you start to get into situations that are not meant for you. You're essentially disorienting yourself because you don't listen to what your pain is trying to tell you. So what is the answer to this? What do we do instead of eliminating our pain? We have to let go of this conception that pain is optional. You have to reinterpret your relationship with pain. And instead of being angry about the fact that pain is disrupting your productivity, you have to ask yourself, okay, how can I use what this pain is trying to tell me? What is this trying to teach me? For example, a lot of the times when you're feeling grief, for example, which is definitely emotionally painful, this is an indicator of the fact that something is important to you. When you feel shame or something, this can show that you somehow internalize someone else's opinion and this is still guiding your every move. This is important information that you don't want to deny yourself from. So if you only treat pain as like a technical error that has to be eliminated through medication, denial, or constant stimulation, you amputate the very thing that could have taught you how to grow. Pain can be a teacher. It can teach you boundaries and it can reveal when you're deceiving yourself. For example, if you're in a relationship, you constantly feel anxious or angry, this can show you that you really have to get out of there. But if you constantly numb yourself, if you constantly suppress those feelings of pain, you stay in situations where you shouldn't be in. And this is where emotional regulation comes in. Instead of numbing your feelings, you have to learn, and this is a hard thing to learn, especially when you've been avoiding your emotions for a very long time, you have to start developing an emotional tolerance and the capacity to sit in the fire without needing to escape it. Because here's what no one really tells you. You cannot bypass discomfort and still expect to become whole. Avoidance doesn't resolve pain. If anything, it compounds it and it makes things even worse. It makes you volatile and it makes you numb to joy as well. So the only way out of pain is to go through it. And that's also the foundation of exposure therapy, which is used for trauma and anxiety treatment. These people, they need to learn that the thing that scares them the most, the thing that causes them the most emotional pain, they can overcome that. They can confront it and overcome it. And by that, they change their concept of themselves. They rewire their brain to be able to understand that they can survive. And this is exactly what you need to do. Face what you fear. Face the pain that you fear so much and that you've been avoiding for so long. And this brings us full circle back to the man on the street. I didn't see this person as someone who's weak or, undisciplined. It's basically just a manifestation of this human tendency to avoid pain. It's something that we all do, of course, taken to an extreme, but it's something that we should be aware of. And we really, I think, have to realize that pain and suffering is inevitable. It's just something that is part of the human condition. We are mortal, we are vulnerable, and no matter what's going to happen, we're always going to be in some form of pain. This sounds depressing at first, but you don't have to suffer meaninglessly. You can use the information that the pain is trying to convey to you. You can pick up the responsibility of feeling this pain, and by that, start becoming something better, someone better. Because once you accept that suffering is a part of life, you're free to extract meaning from it, and you can turn it into discipline. You can turn it into compassion. So the goal shouldn't be to become someone who's just able to escape life's pain. The goal should be to be someone who's strong enough to feel the pain, carry it, and move on. So yeah, I hope you guys could take something from this video, and I see you guys in the next video. Bye.